What's hot? This is where we talk about the stories that have everybody else talking.
And today we're joined by Susie Falk from the Falk Public Relations Group, and Jeff Wagner is back with us. All right, so investors are awarding entrepreneurs $1 million to develop gun safety technology in weapons. Some of the technology includes fingerprint readers and biometric trigger locks. Do you think gun safety technology will help curb gun violence?
You know, I like this initiative in that I think it encourages innovative thinking, and I think there will be some probably smart technologies that result from this. I don't know that necessarily gun safety is going to increase or improve. I do think if you look at the Bloomberg Challenge grant, when he challenged American cities to come up with creative ways of creating healthier cities, there are a lot of really great ideas that came out of that. So maybe the technology will surprise us coming out of this, but I don't know if it's actually going to contribute to safety.
Well, see, I think there's two questions. If you ask me, does it necessarily reduce gun violence, my answer is probably not, because you still got the criminal elements, you got the bad guys who are going to be using guns in that fashion. Gun safety might be a different story. I mean, they're looking at things like you were saying, Shannon, about fingerprint technology. Like nowadays, if you want to use your cell phone. I mean, a lot of the new cell phones, it uses your fingerprint.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's that type of stuff that they're looking at putting into firearms. So if you get in a situation where the 12-year-old kid goes to grab, dad's gun or something, the gun isn't going to fire. That's the type of stuff that I do think has a lot of promise. Yeah. And the sooner you can bring something like that, I think the better that's going to be.
Now, one other thing about this group, though, they're also going to have a challenge grant on brain health. They're looking at a couple different areas, and one is brain health. And to be honest, I think we could probably do more for gun safety if we could get to the bottom of why people snap and use guns. So, I don't exactly know how big the prize is, but I'd like to see more looking at, what's going on in your brain when you go a little bit crazy and you use your gun to kill somebody. So.
No matter how much money, though, they spend on trying to come up with some new technology to make guns safer, it has to be used by the owner. You can buy a $4 trigger lock,
right,
and it's useless if it sits in its box and the gun is still sitting there, in the sock drawer,
right,
loaded with the safety off.
Right. But at least this, I think, makes it easier. And depending on how they work out with the biometrics, and I don't claim to know the nuances of this, but I think it might be possible that you really could limit, unauthorized use. So if you're not the owner, if the gun is stolen, it can't be fired. It just essentially turns into a paperweight. That's the type of stuff, regardless of where you are on the whole gun control, gun violence issue. I think everybody can get behind that.
That was a plot point in Skyfall, if you were paying attention to that James Bond movie.
Good technology.
All right.
See, and who says movies aren't educational,
There you go. Coming up next, we're revealing the viewer's choice topic of the day.
And Brian, with our hot topics, and now it's our viewer's choice topic of the day.
Again, we're joined by Susie Falk and Jeff Wagner. The viewer's choice topic: should Wisconsin voters need to show photo ID? The state Supreme Court has scheduled oral arguments in 2 cases challenging photo ID. The arguments will be held next month. What do you think?
I've been saying this for years. Yeah, the answer is yes. I mean, the truth is, if you've got some people who are on the sort of fringe of society that don't have IDs, don't have photo IDs, we got to get them photo IDs, not just so that they can vote, so they can do everything else. That, to me, should be the challenge, not trying to say, okay, you don't need a photo ID to vote.
I agree with you, Jeff. You know what? And it's not that hard to get them. It really isn't. If you have access to a computer, and you can have access to a computer in the library, you can get help and you can search for the form. It's a form. You have to be able to read a little bit, but it's not that hard to get these state IDs, and they're free. So I agree with you, Jeff, on this one.
But what about the elderly that may not be tech savvy or have access to a computer or can go to the library and get a computer?
Well, actually, the voter ID law in Wisconsin excludes like nursing homes and things like that. So if you're living in one of those facilities, you don't need it. But I guess I come back to the point, Shannon, that if you don't have an ID, you just can't participate in life, whether it's cashing checks or doing these things. You need that to do just elementary things. And I think we'd be better off concentrating and saying, okay, if there's somebody somewhere that doesn't have an ID, let's get them one so they can do everything.
When you look at the history of these voter ID laws, though, they come out of states where Republicans have recently taken control, and the Democrats say, all right, most of these non-ID people happen to vote Democratic. This is an attempt by Republicans to stop Democrats from being able to vote.
Well, okay, my concern would be, again, if you accept my premise that you really do need an ID to participate in American life, my argument would be, okay, why don't we want to do everything we can to get everybody the IDs so they can participate
But
in
why
life?
tie it to voting? I mean, there's got to be other ways to do that. I mean, voting is a constitutional right.
Well, but you still have to prove who you are. I mean, you have to register. Then you make the argument saying, okay, do you not have any? Don't you have to register? Don't you? You have to still have to prove you live in an area. I mean, there are requirements that you have to have, minimum requirements before you can vote.
No, and Jeff and you and I agree on this one for sure. I do worry though a little bit about Big Brother, and if you have to have your ID on you, and do you have to carry it at all times? I mean, so I think there are some questions about this, but in terms of voting and to prevent voter fraud, I think you should be able to prove that you are who you say you are. So.
Okay,
that's a libertarian, Susie Falk, weighing in. Okay,
lightning round time.
All right, it's the blame game over the winter storm in Atlanta that left a massive traffic headache. The mayor and the governor are claiming they didn't know how bad the storm was going to be, but the National Weather Service said otherwise, saying it warned everyone the storm was coming. And we have someone who's blown in to weigh in on this with us, too.
Goddard is here to defend his profession.
I have documentation. Governor and mayor of Georgia and Atlanta.
At what time?
Let them have it.
Well, at 3:12 Sunday afternoon, the National Weather Service issued a winter storm watch.
Okay.
This happened on Tuesday. The watch was issued on Sunday. It did include Atlanta by 4 o'clock the following morning. They tweeted on Monday afternoon at 3 o'clock, winter precipitation will make travel risky across Georgia midday Tuesday and Wednesday. Not a bad idea to stay off the roads if you're able to. That's on Monday afternoon. They had a graphic even on their page, 2 to 4 inches of snow in central Georgia. This was as of 6 a.m. Monday.
And the city and the state leaders are taking heat because nobody thought it was smart to pre-treat to roads.
Right. And look, here's the reality. Look, I like kicking on meteorologists as well as the next guy, maybe better than most. But here's the truth. The politicians know what's going to happen. Do you ever see those old Frankenstein movies where the villagers find out Dr. Frankenstein's making the monster and they come at him with the torches and pitchforks? That's what's going on in Atlanta towards the politicians. And they are running for cover, and they've got no excuse. I mean, they should have treated the roads. They should have prepared.
It wasn't just, there are a lot of things going on there. And Brian, you make a good attorney, but you know what? It was everybody getting out of work or school at the same time. You have inexperienced drivers on the road. You don't have enough salt trucks. You don't have enough snow plows. And then you have the trucks that are jackknifing all over the place. So I think it was just literally the perfect storm.
I will agree with you, Susie. One thing, though, I will take the defense that Atlanta is not prepared, clearly, for 2 inches of snow. But they didn't even think to put salt trucks out because they don't even have salt trucks.
Traffic is terrible on a normal day.
Well, and Brian,
didn't add some snow.
But didn't this just happen in 2011? I mean, they went through the same thing. I mean, you would think you would learn at some point in time that
they didn't have enough practice.
But like everybody,
those crazy
just blame
Southern drivers. Southern drivers.
We up here
we're always
find a way. We have to find a way to take advantage of Atlanta the next time this happens to them. We have to capitalize off of that. All right.
Next week.
The What's Hot discussion continues online. Find it at tmj4.com/hot.